Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you guys are doing great. Today is Saturday. No, it's not. It's Sunday. Welcome. Anyways, crazy move right now for Bitcoin. Minutes ago, we're currently there now. 93,111. Crazy good rise. We have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. We will be going more into detail about what's happening with Venezuela, what other people think about it. I didn't really get to talk much about that yesterday. I was really overloaded with all that news, but, you know, now we got some more reactions, now that people have had time to process all the information, whatever's happening with Venezuela, with Maduro. We'll give you guys more updates on that in tonight's stream. And what is next as well? It seems like Trump is not done with just Venezuela. And a lot of people are encouraging Trump, rather, to go for more, go for other countries. Mexico, Greenland, Panama, Colombia, Cuba, you name it. We've also got some new developments in Iran. We'll be talking about that and some more crypto updates as well we'll be getting into for tonight's stream. Crazy strong start to the week. I don't know if this is necessarily a good thing. We are very overbought on Bitcoin. That's the first thing to address right now. The price is very, very high on the RSI. For Bitcoin's case, 77 on the RSI level right now. We barely started, and we are already hitting our first resistance for this week. We have new pivot levels drawn, 93,259. That's where the first resistance level of pivots was generated at. We're slowing down at that exact level, pretty much. And I'm not sure how well we would be able to continue this. The good stuff that I see from this, the support level for Bitcoin is at 88,242. Good. This is where we also have our uptrend invalidation as of right now. The supertrend has been on the rise, and it's flattening out at that level, 88,300. So if we do have a drop, which we might, it's no surprise that at 10 a.m. tomorrow, stuff like this happens. We're entering a new year. I don't think it's necessarily going to be all bad. Things are starting out pretty strong. You got to worry about a CME gap, which hopefully by some point to this year, CME gaps will be no more, because that thing is going to be 24/7, I think. Pretty sure. I don't remember if it was the CME that was going to have like a 1 or 2 hour break, or if it was going to be NASDAQ when they went 24/7. I think it was NASDAQ. So CME gap should be 24/7, hopefully, by some point this year. So we don't got to worry about whatever gap we're about to get, because, well, we did close the... Where did we close the 2nd of January? I could just literally go to the CME chart for Bitcoin. I want to know where the gap would be if we were to open the next day at this current price of 93,000. Oh, well, it's currently already open. I forget. So this is your new CME gap. Get ready. It already exists because these guys live in the future, right? Now, futures market opens at this time. We now have, of course, commodities market open, so we'll also be talking about the impact of natural gas prices and oil prices, how this whole Venezuela situation impacted that. We'll be also getting into that. We closed over here, 90,500. That's how low we must go to fill up this gap if we are to do so. This is your new CME gap. Enjoy it while you can. Which, like I said, even if we do get this filled, we could tolerate a drop to 88,300, and we'll still remain in an uptrend for Bitcoin. Don't be surprised if at some point this week we do get a big crash like that. I really don't think that should happen. There's no point for it to do that, without any real fundamentals, of course. If we do get a really bad fundamental, sure, hit me with all you got and drop me to 88,200, fine. But just out of manipulation, like, come on. The odds of that are not that high. I still think we're going to have a good week for this upcoming week as well. I was able to, accurately... I got the good vibe when we had this huge pump last week, Sunday. And obviously on Monday it all got erased, but we were still able to have a good week overall and end it very strong. Breaking 90,000 as a major resistance, of course, for Bitcoin, and flipping the trend over to the upside. We now have a good solid uptrend on Bitcoin. No more downtrend. It doesn't exist and you can't draw it. I've already proven that to you guys. So from here, the main resistance level that I would pay attention to on Bitcoin, ignoring whatever tiny levels you see over here at 95 or 98,000. I'd focus more on 100,000. Although these levels will be important to pay attention for this week, I'd still focus mainly on 100,000. I don't care what's going to happen this week. In the upcoming weeks, I care more about how it's going to behave at 100,000, which we will have our ups and downs. Like, we're not going to immediately teleport to 100,000 tomorrow. We could, but I don't think that's going to happen. So over time is what I'm trying to say. Like, we could tolerate a drop to 88,000 and then continue rising. Our next point could be 95,000, wherever low, 90,000 maybe. Next point, 98,000, go one more lower. By this time, we'll be in next week. And then we can talk about 100,000 to see what happens, how it behaves at that level. I am out of Bitcoin because it did the thing to me. The 2 a.m. drop, it happened. It stopped me out. Sure, I took profit on it, but I could have been making so much more profit. Whatever. There's opportunities in other coins. Still a negative funding rate on Bitcoin, by the way. The bears really don't want to let this one go, but they're getting mega liquidated with all these movements. We'll talk about the liquidation levels as well. I have an article about that. It's going to be good. The only real open position that I have open, yes, I do have all these other ones, but who cares about that? I'm still a far long way from any of these seeing the light of day, and by that I mean turning green. Zcash is the only position I really have open that I care about right now. I shouldn't, but it's silly. This is the trade that's open right now. It hasn't moved, and it's somehow barely in the red. 0% movement right now on Zcash. Yes, I'm jumping Ethereum and Solana to talk about Zcash. I have to. Positive funding rate finally, so people are starting to agree with me that we will start going long. Early sign to kind of supports the fact that this should continue rising. Super trend is flatlined well at 473. My stop loss is far below that at 469, so I should be good. And it's also, with the new pivot levels that were generated, below a support level. So this just gives me further confidence that, you know what, I'm just going to keep this over here. Put my take profit at 564. I don't know why I specifically clicked that. I was aiming for maybe a 250. I don't know. This is a 1-to-5 risk reward ratio. So I obviously still think it will hit. Even if it doesn't reach that high, whatever point becomes overbought, I'd likely take a profit at that area, which could be at 544, but I don't know. This is a really volatile coin. It wouldn't surprise me if we teleport to like 587. So I'm still keeping that in mind. And of course, 600 it's like the equivalent to 100K for Bitcoin in Zcash terms, right? So it's another level to pay attention to before we meet like something like this downtrend line. I know a lot of other altcoins are preparing to meet this other downtrend line that is overshadowing them, most of them. It's really hard to draw some downtrend lines on these altcoins, but we'll still get into that when we talk about it. It says, is my stream okay? Yes, excellent. Okay, I was hoping I don't have bad Wi-Fi. Otherwise, what's the point? Why do I pay? Did I just click on... Okay, get me out of here. I accidentally clicked on the pop-up and it took me somewhere else. Whatever, dude. I like this 2% rise on Bitcoin. Finally, deserved. Ethereum also on a deserved run right now. Current price is 3,187. The highest we hit today was 3,219, and as predicted, Supertrend has flattened out at exactly 3,000. Well, 3,002. It's pretty close enough. 3,000 is your most important support level. 2,979, that's only a $20 difference. Who cares about that? It's basically pretty evidence 3,000 will be your very most important support level for Ethereum, meaning we can tolerate a drop like that and still continue higher. We would be perfectly fine. I don't think that's going to happen. Whatever. We'll see how the week plays out. The highest we hit was at close to this resistance level. That's what the only struggle I see is that I don't know how much more we can continue rising before we see a small correction first. We are starting it off pretty strong. We're going to have to fill up a CME gap. We are going to have to like ease the tension of being overbought, although not because it's overbought means that it's going to start dropping. You have to wait for confirmation for that, of course, and other factors can play into it, like geopolitical news, fundamentals, whatever the case may be. So, I mean, because we have seen, like, Bitcoin being overbought for, like, 14 days straight back in, I don't remember, some point last year. So it can happen, but that doesn't mean that it's supposed to end. But it's supposed to give you a clear idea, right? We're overbought. We're approaching this resistance, 3,236 on Ethereum. I don't know how much higher we can continue with it. We do need a bit of a breather. We could get 10 a.m. manipulation on Monday. Just watch out for that kind of stuff is what I would say. But overall, the trend should continue higher. No doubt about that. Solana is up 2%. Great. $136.71. Our resistance level is pointing at 139. I mean, we could round this up to 140 because honestly, this is like really close. Highest we hit today was 137.67. No laughing at 6-7 jokes in 2026, guys. Support level flatlining perfectly with that super trend invalidation. It's at 126 basically. 126 is your support level for Solana. Ignore the pivot level. And we are in a good uptrend over here. I like it. After breaking 140, we would look at 144, perhaps. And then, as I mentioned, a lot of altcoins do have this overshadowing downtrend line still. So they're not really out of the woods yet. I wouldn't really say that, oh, we're so back, we're in an alt season. Not necessarily there yet. Still need a couple more stuff to happen before we can declare an alt season, if we are even going to get one. I don't necessarily think we will. The money is there, it does exist, and it can happen. But you got to be careful with it. You don't want to be trapped for too long. Once these turn green, barely green, I'm out. That's one. Or I don't know, at least I'd put a stop loss at a reasonable area. So something that I should have done since the beginning. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been suffering with paying 112 in fees, 175, 98, and 165 in funding fees alone. Brutal. And on top of that, the potential of getting Omega liquidated, which I have. That has happened to me already. I've learned my lesson. It's fine. Won't happen again. No promises, but we'll try. Sui, really struggling with the 170s. So we're still up 2.29%. Price is at 171. We're like right smack on that resistance level that I pointed out. The highest we did hit today was $1.75, but there's no candle that really closed above the 171, right? Clear rejection at that area. This is an important number because it was a support a very long time ago, served as support, and it's serving as resistance right now. And like I'm talking at a very macro scale, right? So that's why it's important here. Nonetheless, we are in an uptrend. Seems to be in our favor. We've been pretty overbought since January 2nd, 3 a.m. So don't know how long we're going to be able to keep this up. It's likely we can see a correction of it on Sui. I don't expect it to be too great. Maybe 161. It could slow down. Worst case scenario, 151. We could still bounce around this area. If this does happen, though, I would be glad to enter a trade around over here, around the 150s. 151, 2, 3, 4. And going long, of course, in favor of the trend here. Looks good. Looks good so far. I like it. Hyperliquid finally making a move. Not enough yet, though. That's crazy. We're trying, though. We're trying. We're up 6% today. Current price is $26.74. Trying to flip the trend over whatever downtrend, excuse of a downtrend we have. It's currently in test right now. 26.75. We need to break above anything 27, right? And close the candle above that. Support levels seem to be in our favor as well, 24.78. It kind of aligns with whatever uptrend line we are expecting here. And even if we do get a positive super trend flipped over, I would expect it to kind of be around the 24 level, right? So we'll see how that goes. Justin verse, hello. Good to see you. Chainlink, it's doing its thing. Okay, looks like it's going to continue rising here. Yeah, this downtrend line finally gone. Just wanted confirmation that it would happen. It did happen. Here we go. Resistance level is at 14 now. The highest we hit today was 1387. We are overbought. I would expect the price to retrace a little bit. I was expecting that a bit earlier too, to basically be around here. And I did call the support level pretty accurately at this point, basing it off of the super trend line, which is looking at $12.50. Anything between $12.50 to $12.60, if we do see a retracement to that point, I will be going long aggressively on Chainlink. But it seems like it's doing its rise first. Should I have entered over here? I mean, if I did, I would expect a move kind of like this, and that's just kind of unrealistic. I don't know. $15, it could happen, but I would expect a bit of a correction first. It seems too good to be true that things are just rising a little too hard right now. So I'm going to play it safe nonetheless. Leaving a couple dollars on the table, it's whatever. I wait for a retracement confirmation, and then we can pump a little higher from there. Before we get overshadowed by the next downtrend line, of course. Moving on from that, we have BitTensor for almost 5% up today. Very strong uptrend at last. This is like sharply moving upwards. 232 seems to be where our support level is as of right now. Supertrend has not flatlined yet. Current price is $268.70. And we're looking to hit 285 as a resistance. We are very overbought right now, though. There's no specific level that would kind of reinforce us to stop rising or something. I could maybe check with a Fibonacci level, ignoring, of course, October 10. You would look from these 2 points right over here. Let's see what we get. It seems like the first resistance this is in monthly pivot, 288. I'd say 285. 285 seems like the most reasonable level. Ignore the 288. Focus on the 284.75. Okay? Going back to 4-hour chart, these are weekly pivot levels. That resistance one matches pretty perfectly. 284.75, 284.95, round that up to 285. Psychological number. You have a clear resistance there for BitTensor. I don't know if we have the strength to continue rising, though. This is a really good start. Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. It can happen, but no higher than 285. That's where I'd put it. Would I enter here? Absolutely not. I'd wait for a retracement first before going long. I want to get the best possible entry price and follow the trend, of course. Your money is not going to change the market. It's the institutions, and they're the ones that are currently, or they should be, inflowing. And not specifically just into BitTensor, but I'm talking like, I opened the wrong tab. I'm talking about like the ETFs that we do currently have, XRP, Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin. These are inflows. 471 on Friday. I know some of these are outflows from last week, but this kind of balances out, right? That kind of neutralizes itself. And we had a strong inflow 2nd of January on Friday, on the first business day back. 2026 first day of very strong inflow from ETFs. Things are obviously going to start changing from here. I would expect a continuation of inflows from these ETFs, at least for the beginning of this year. We'll see how it goes. And I guess you could say the same with Ethereum and Solana. I don't know for sure, though. Yeah, Ethereum already proving a strong inflow on the first day back, the first business day back. We're about to get our first official full week back into the markets. I would expect these institutions to continue accumulating. Why would they stop, right? And even same with, no, not really. 8.6 million inflow on Solana ETFs. Not a lot of volume still, but the FOMO will kick in eventually. I wouldn't doubt that. Last is Aptos. 197 was our highest. Hey, we're starting to see something good with Aptos, finally. I already took my profit at a perfect entry, perfect exit. I'm fine with what I did. Yeah, I could have made a bit more money. Whatever. Lock in the profits. There's no shame in taking some profits. Here we're just entering the market. And how do I explain this? I know the term in Spanish. We have to be sin vergüenza, shameless, right? You got to be shameless when you're doing this stuff in the futures market specifically, because you're just here to make a quick in and out, quick buck, and you're out. You're not supposed to be holding long term. If you want to do that stuff long term, if you truly believe in the fundamentals of a project, you would want to do that on spot, and obviously self-custody that, because you should value what you own, right? Your coins. You don't want to hold them on an exchange either. Not your keys, not your crypto. Especially if you leave them there for, what was it now, 3 years. The government of California is gonna come and seize your assets because they're inactive. Like, we don't want that kind of stuff happening to us. So, and that's only if you have them on an exchange. That's why you want to just take that money out and keep it in your wallet. But of course, be responsible with it. Otherwise, your own stupidity could be your loss, right? So Safeguard your keys. You know what to do. Watch another video on wallets and private keys. Okay. I assume you guys should already know that. Anyways, current price of Aptos is 194. Very strong uptrend. It's hard to draw support level from here. I'd point to maybe 180 is where this looks like it's rising to. Yeah, maybe. Resistance itself is at $2.05. Of course, we do have the obvious $2 resistance, so I'm going to draw that one as well. Wow, I actually hit a perfect $2 there. Almost. Slight readjustment there. That's what we have for Aptos. Not even overbought at this level, even with a strong rise. We were over here, but it can continue rising. If we do get a retracement to, like I said, the 180 zone, I would be going back into long with Aptos to take advantage of the next move. We'll see how it goes. I don't know why Zcash is lagging. It's still got an uptrend with it. I feel like because it was like one of the first movers, it already kind of made its move, and now it's just letting the rest of the market catch up before the rest of the market does continue higher. And we can still tolerate a drop on a lot of stuff that is rising, and even Zcash that hasn't been rising too much in recent days, right? We'd still be in an uptrend for a majority of this. The only thing that hasn't really flipped its trend yet that we've been looking at is Hyperliquid, but that's about to happen pretty soon. All we got to do is close a candle above 27, we're good. And we've been poking above it, so resistance is getting weaker on Hyperliquid. I feel like we are going to indeed draw that triangle thing that we're going to do that triangle thing that I showed you guys. This is just beautiful drawing. Do this until ultimately you can't hold back no more and the ascending triangle gets broken. Good. It looks like we're slowing down here on Bitcoin. There is a clear resistance at 93,000. All right. So that's it for your technical analysis. I'm doing all this standing up, by the way. I don't know if it gives me more energy or not. I feel tired already, my legs. Whatever. We'll get into it. The news. Let's go. So, what's been happening? Venezuela. Seems like the people are happy. 65,000 Venezuelans flood the streets celebrating freedom. And of course the other news outlets, they're pretending it's not real. This is why trust is gone. If anything, I actually saw them posting stories about, the Venezuelans in, I don't know, Vancouver, BC are outraged that Trump violated international law. They're like trying to push the rhetoric. The left rhetoric right now is, oh, you violated international law. And now we're going to wave Venezuelan flags everywhere. It seems like every couple months, they start changing the flags. Like first it was the Palestinian flag. Next it was, remind me if I forget any. I've already forgotten. What other flags were they waving, the leftists? The Mexican flag, there was riots for that, remember? Then there's the Somalian flags pretty recently. And the Ukrainian flags, of course, how could you forget? And now it's Venezuelan flags. Why don't you wave the American flag for once? But anyway. Here's the stance of the world on what they believe, whether they approve or disapprove of what's been going on. The post's in Spanish, but I'll translate it for you, don't worry. The position of each country on the attack of the United States to Venezuela. The countries who celebrated the arrest of Maduro, these ones celebrated, were Argentina, Chile, the people on Cast's side of the party, Ecuador, El Salvador, Paraguay, Peru, Albania, Israel, Kosovo, Costa Rica, and Macedonia. I'm sure there's more, but it's not including all of them. Ecuador, I just want to talk about this. There was one, like I remember in the previous elections we had. Yeah, I don't know. I think we wanted the leftist government to win because the current government that's in power, he's right wing, but he's kind of like, I don't know, maybe doesn't really know what he's doing. He's more of like a spoiled rich kid that got elected president, and he's representing the right, and he's not doing things properly from what I heard. And the country is still pretty bad with crime and with the drugs and the gang violence and all that kind of stuff going on. So seems like the left government could have done a better job, maybe. But one of the attacking points was, don't elect Luisa Gonzalez. She was going to be the left party, right? With Rafael Correa and all the other previous, oh my gosh, the legacy, right? He's like, don't elect her because she is going to make this country like Venezuela, like Maduro. She supports Maduro, and they kind of do, right? So there is that, and I guess part of the reason why Daniel Noboa currently is in power. Moving on from this, the countries that I guess they're okay with it, but they want, like, okay, now call an election, get the democracy back. We don't want the United States running the country. Venezuelans should run the country, because as of right now, it's going to be the United States that will be running this country, the Venezuelan. So it's looking like the ones who were asking for democracies in Bolivia, Panama, Indonesia, Czechoslovakia, I think, Czech Republic, Denmark, Germany, Austria, and Ukraine. The ones, these are the countries who reject Maduro's ideologies. They're against Maduro, but they're also against what the United States did with the international law, right? You're violating international law, but we don't support Maduro anyway, but what you did was wrong. These are the countries that think that. Canada, France, Lithuania, what is Letonia? Latvia? Latvia, yeah. Ireland, Italy, and the European Union. They basically said, okay, Maduro sucks, but come on, don't do that. And the ones that completely condemned the attack, they're completely against it, is Brazil, Belarus, Mexico, my Spanish accent is coming out, Colombia, Cuba, Chile, Uruguay, Iran, China, Guatemala, Switzerland, Malaysia, Russia, Slovakia, Czechoslovakia, I don't know, and Spain. And with the Chile, it's the other party, Boric, by the way. So that's the stance on the countries, on what's been going on. Since I am from Canada, I will be talking about what Mark Carney said. We already talked yesterday about what Pierre Poilievre mentioned, the leader of the Conservative Party. This is now Mark Carney, the current leader in power of the Liberal Party. This looks like an AI-generated statement, but okay, we'll read his statement. It's only fair. He says, one of the first actions taken by Canada's new government in March 2025 was to impose additional sanctions on Nicolas Maduro's brutally oppressive and criminal regime, unequivocally condemning his grave breaches of international peace and security, gross and systematic human rights violations, and corruption. Canada has not recognized the illegitimate regime of Maduro since it stole the 2018 election. Oh, we're going that far back? Okay. I thought it was the recent election in, what year was it? 24 or 25? Pretty sure it might have been 2025. The Canadian government therefore welcomes the opportunity for freedom, democracy, peace, and prosperity for the Venezuelan people. And referencing my previous post, yeah, we were talking about, okay, we don't like the Maduro guy, but come on, you can't really do what you did. And I'm guessing either way, they're willing to just be like, okay, well, call a new leader. Don't have the United States running the country. Carney says that Canada has long supported a peaceful, negotiated, and Venezuelan-led transition process that respects the democratic will of the Venezuelan people. In keeping with our long-standing commitment to uphold the rule of law, sovereignty, and human rights, Canada calls on all parties to respect international law. We stand by the Venezuelan people's sovereign right to decide and build their own future in a peaceful and democratic society. Canada attaches great importance to resolution of crises through multilateral engagement and is in close contact with international partners about ongoing developments. We are first and foremost ready to assist Canadians through our consular officials and our embassy in Bogota, Colombia, and will continue to support Venezuelan refugees. We're going to talk more about Colombia soon, because Gustavo Petro, the president over there, he's not happy with all this, and he might be next on the list. Before we get to that, though, I just want to reference this. No laughing at 6-7 memes in 2026. CIA Director John Ratcliffe laughed when Trump was saying, I think it's something 6-7 months. And you see him smiling there. What are we doing? Hey, no laughing. No laughing at 6-7 memes, okay? And while we're getting humor out of the way, it seems like what actually triggered Trump was this rage baiting that Maduro was doing the dances and kind of mocking Trump. Maduro's public appearances, dancing, and other attempts to goad and mock Trump are what convinced Trump to actually kidnap the Venezuelan president, apparently. This is what came out in a statement. It says, Mr. Maduro's regular public dancing and other displays of nonchalance in recent weeks helped persuade some on the Trump team that the Venezuelan president was mocking them and trying to call what he believed to be a bluff, according to two of the people who spoke on a condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to talk about the confidential discussions. And we did talk about, like, the crazy moves that he was busting, right? And it's like, okay, he's just being a clown, or like he's provoking. They're poking the bear, right? And Trump is like, okay, well, you can't just make fun of me like that. So there you go. Captured him, silenced him permanently. Great. Trump was on Air Force One, I think, flying somewhere. So there we have audio reports from some of the news reporters. And Trump commented on Colombia. He said that Colombia is being run by a sick man. He's not going to be doing it for very long, the reporter said. So there will be an operation by the U.S. in Colombia? Trump says, yep, sounds good to me. There you go. Confirmed. Colombia is next. And Gustavo Petro, the guy's not happy. Colombian president openly challenges Donald Trump. He's doing the same thing that Maduro did. First of all, Maduro's mistake was, the mocking, and you had plenty of warnings. You could have fled to another country. You were not wise, and I don't know. He did FAFO, basically, as everybody puts it. So, kind of deserved, maybe? I don't know. Is it a violation of international law? Yeah, probably. But is it for the greater good of the people? Yeah, probably too. A lot of Venezuelans are celebrating, and I saw some stories where some people were like, yeah, like, my grandma died because we're literally running out of food. We're being mistreated by the government. Kids are eating out of trash cans. The economy's in shambles, and the government is not doing anything to help us. Now we actually have a chance of prosperity and survival thanks to Trump for freeing the country, right? From this dictator regime. So there you go. Pick your side. I don't know. I'm not from there. Don't know much about it. Don't attack the messenger. On the other hand, Gustavo Petro, Colombian president, like I said, he's doing the wrong thing. He says, if you want to jail me, try and see if you can. If you want to put me in an orange uniform, try it. The Colombian people will take to the streets to defend me. Is that true, Colombian people? Maybe. Maybe. The guy's not a dictator, I don't think. He seems to have his supporters here. I don't know how much they're getting paid. But the whole issue with the drug stuff, I don't know. They will have to lean heavy on the drug rhetoric, right? Because a lot of drugs likely do come out of Colombia. And with oil, I don't think Colombia has a lot of oil exports. I could probably confirm this on the fly, if I remember how. We check Harvard's Economic Atlas, the exports of every country. Don't show me this again. Exporter, let's see. Americas, okay. South America, thank you. And Colombia, what do you export to the world in, come on, brother, give me 2023. Tourism, okay, they do export 17%. It seems like the majority of what they export is oil. So they do have oil. But I'm assuming not as much as what Venezuela would have. It's 77% of Venezuela's GDP is oil. Petroleum, oils, crude. Yup, there you go. So anyways, maybe we can go into Colombia and take some of that. A little bit more. But a huge chunk of it, of course, was in Venezuela. There's no denying that. Gustavo Petro also came out with this post, this Bible of a post. I could translate this to you on the fly, but I'm too lazy to just give me the real translation. He says, I'm not worried at all. I have nothing to hide like others do. No murders, no mass graves, no 6,402 young people murdered during the government you defend, no 3,000 young political prisoners behind bars. We don't coexist with narco-terrorists who even decided to refound the homeland and nearly succeeded. Okay. Big if true, I don't know. I was the one who dedicated 10 years to investigating and exposing in public debates the relationships between politicians in power and armed drug traffickers. You, Hassan, never did that. I don't know who Hassan Nassar is. Another candidate for Bogota. Okay, the opposition. I don't appear at number 82 on any list of drug traffickers, nor did my brother murder 700 people in death squads, nor did I increase poverty, nor did I send millions of people into hunger. Who are we talking about here? This is awfully specific. It's likely Maduro. Maybe Maduro. I don't know. I don't know anything about Hassan here. Hassan Nassar. Who knows, man? My work is democracy for the people, equity, and peace. In New York, I was protected by the law that safeguards the United Nations, and I said what I think. That's true. He did come to New York one time, and he was bad-mouthing the United States, I'm pretty sure, if I recall. Something like that. I remember that. No army in Palestine can disobey orders of genocide. Not in Palestine, nor anywhere in the world, because it's a crime against humanity, not just against one nation. If it seems terrible to you, I repeat it on this network, it's a worldwide norm since the Nuremberg Tribunal. Okay, what are we talking about here, though? By the way, I gave you guys misinformation yesterday. I said the Seven Sons. It's just the Sons. It's not the Seven Sons, the cartel name. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, whatever. That's enough drama between those two. I'm not going to get too much into Colombian politics, but just know that maybe Colombia's next. But there's stuff like this happening all across the world, and I did kind of allude to this yesterday. So the US just took over Venezuela. Cool, great. Next, what's going to happen? China takes Taiwan, Russia takes Ukraine, Israel could take Iran, India would take Pakistan, Thailand, Cambodia. The US is also looking to take Greenland, Cuba, maybe Mexico. The United Arab Emirates could take Yemen. If this trend continues, World War III is not far. And it just goes to show, hey, if the United States did it, why can't we do it, is what the rest of the world is going to say. It might get out of hand. I'm more concerned about Israel, Iran. Russia, Ukraine's been going on for a while. China, Taiwan is just all bark and no bite. India, Pakistan, I'm also, come on. It's a conflict that literally ended in 24 hours. Same thing with Thailand, Cambodia. It's literally the same dudes fighting each other. Literally. I don't, if you tell me the difference between an Indian and a Pakistani, I will not know. If you ask me the difference between someone from Thailand or Cambodia, I would not know. Or Russia, Ukraine, for that matter. Honestly, like, what even is the difference between them? This is just infighting and it just makes no sense. China and Taiwan, maybe I could tell a difference, but still, I feel like that's just infighting. Americans and Venezuelans, now that's a war I could get behind. Again, United Arab Emirates and Yemenis, I'm pretty sure they look the same. I don't know. This is like Americans versus Spanish people. I don't know about the Greenland, though. Greenland just seems like a simple, hey, we're going to annex you and that's it. Okay. Is the real Haley Welch? Talk to a girl? No, I don't think so. Scam. Anyway. And by the way, we're serious about this whole Greenland, Cuba thing. Trump made some more comments on it. He said that we need Greenland and that Venezuela might not be the last country subject to American intervention. Seems like Trump is retaking the entire Western Hemisphere from our adversaries. We do need Greenland, absolutely. It's surrounded by Russia and Chinese ships. Trump recently said in Florida, we need Greenland for national security. You have Russian and Chinese ships all over the place, which in part it is true. Now, for everyone that was also kind of saying, I saw this from another Venezuelan who was being interviewed. The guy was like, oh, all these people are mad at Trump because he's taking over Venezuela for their oil. That was like the main thing. Oh, Trump is taking over Venezuela because of the oil. It's not because of the drugs, which in part is true. And then he's like, well, if the United States is doing that, what did you think that China was doing here? They weren't here because of our arepas and tacos or whatever the heck they eat there. Um, they were there for the oil, right? They were also there for it. And the United States is like, well, who would you rather have all this oil? Most oil in the world, by the way. Would it be us or them? Pretty simple answer. I don't know. That kind of just makes me want to step in favor of all this. US President Trump says that Cuba is also ready to fall. They've got all their money from Venezuela. It's going down. Very recent post coming out from this. So, yeah, they might be next. Another thing is people are like, Trump, please come to Canada, take over Canada, or do it to Australia or UK or other countries. I don't know. Annex, just make the whole world America. Seems to be the case here. Nicolas Maduro's approval rating was 20%. I don't know, go to UK. Keir Starmer's approval rating is 15%. Is what some people are saying. That's pretty funny. Alright, shifting gears to the Middle East. What is going on in Iran? What are you doing? 2 key Iranian cities in revolt as deadly protests spread nationwide. I saw, by the way, one post of an Iranian police officer in full uniform and everything, burning a photo of Khamenei, the Ayatollah, and spray painting something on the wall, I don't know. Obviously an act of rebellion, so even the cops are in on it. Words buzzing that protesters have straight up seized the city of Hamadan, while the holy hub of Qom. What? Just 150 clicks from Tehran is mostly under rebel control, cornering the regime like never before. What is this grammar? Okay. Reports confirm raging demos in both spots for days, with clashes killing at least 4 in Hamadan and a teen in Qom, amid grenade blasts and live fire from security goons. Nationwide unrest hit day 8, sparked by economic meltdown, reals tanking their currency, inflation at 52%. Okay, that's worse than Aptos, man. That's worse than plasma. Food is up 70%, spreading to 174 spots with 19 plus dead, hundreds nabbed, and the IRGC cracking down hard. State media and rights groups paint ongoing battles, not full wins yet. But they're trying, man. There you go. Now, the Ayatollah himself, Khamenei, there's reports emerging that he may be prepared to flee to Moscow, which is the right thing to do. If Maduro wanted to save himself, going back to Venezuela here, he would have fled to somewhere else. Maybe even Moscow would have been a good choice, or maybe even China. He had the diplomats there. He was like, hey man, the US is on my butt. I need to get out of here like right now. And they'd be like, okay, hop on the ship. We'll get you out of here. Take refuge in a different country. But no, he stayed there. He stayed defying Trump. He started dancing like a clown, and there you go. It just goes to show what do we even do in this situation. But Khamenei Jr. from Iran looks like he is trying to do the smart thing. I don't know if the right thing. He's copying the path of Syria's dictator, Bashar al-Assad. Remember that one? In the event his regime collapses under mounting pressure. So not confirmed yet, but if things are going south, then he is likely to flee to Moscow. The US and Israel seem poised to apply pressure following the anti-regime protests that have been taking over Iran, funded by Israel, by the way. Israel's last attacks significantly damaged the leadership of Iran's elite security forces, making the protests harder to control this time, which is true. There's not much that they could really do. I have a similar post. I don't know if there's any other information here. He's prepared a contingency plan to leave Tehran, potentially leaving to Moscow if unrest spreads nationwide and security forces begin to defy orders. Yeah, so he's got an escape plan. He's not like jumping up and down and mocking and dancing like Maduro was doing. Seems like he's actually preparing a plan B. Although he has been posting some pretty ominous stuff on Twitter. The enemy shall kneel. They don't know what's coming. I don't know what he was posting. Remember, I showed you the post yesterday. It's pretty defiant. What is this guy trying to tell us? All bark and no bite, in my opinion. The report says the plan is limited to a tight inner circle with assets already positioned abroad. Similar to what Bashar al-Assad, which we read. It reflects a growing concern over Khamenei's health his isolation during recent protests, and fears that economic strain and public anger could fracture loyalty inside the security apparatus. It looks pretty grim for Iran. The Iranian protesters burn regime militia base in Tehran. They're advancing pretty hard. The protesters set fire to a building used by Iran's street-level regime forces in northwest Tehran overnight. The group was identified in videos as pro-Shah youth taking to the streets in Punak. The attack comes as internet blackouts expands and calls for Starlink access grow. Elon Musk, if you can hear us, please save the people in Iran. That's what they're saying, basically. I mean, fair enough. Elon Musk was actually doing stuff for the people in Venezuela right now. In support of the people of Venezuela, Starlink is providing free broadband service through February 3rd, ensuring continued connectivity. There you go. You got free Wi-Fi in Venezuela for a month. That's crazy. Here we go. The big post. What happened to oil and natural gas? Natural gas prices are down 6% in just 15 minutes after the futures market opened, especially with a big fat gap over here. After Maduro was captured, oil prices are back below $57 a barrel. They are nearing their lowest levels since 2021. Didn't we hit 55? 57 is not even that bad of a drop. If I'm recalling the prices correctly, I could be wrong. I love this candle on Bitcoin, by the way. Yeah, it's not even that bad. It seems like oil was basically not impacted at all. What's going on? Sure, we did have our... Did we open with a bigger gap? We actually rose. How does this make any sense? We dropped to 56. Yeah, our lowest was 54.87. This is the lowest level that we haven't seen since... Is that a candle? 2025. That doesn't count. Where is the price? Okay. Yeah, these are levels we haven't seen since 2021. Okay. Generational buying opportunity, maybe? Look at that weekly super trend. I wouldn't risk it. No thanks. I'm staying out of oil. Let this thing blow over. Do what you gotta do. Oil could be free, dude. You never know. Still, we're still down with oil, so it's not like we're rising either. It's just a small, not too much volatility as I would have expected. In just about all major escalations of geopolitical tensions with oil-producing countries, energy prices typically rise, which is true. Remember the first time that we either bombed Venezuela or we seized one of their oil tankers that were coming from China. There was concern with oil, and it actually rose on that news because we were like, now we're stealing... No, what was it? We were taking Venezuela's oil, which makes oil more scarce. It was something like that. The United States attacking Venezuela for oil. I think it was one of these rises over here. Could have been in October or could have been this one in December. I don't remember how recent it was. It was one of those rises. I'm thinking it was this one. Because this is where I have like a downtrend line drawn. I would have been talking about this in the past maybe. So could have been over here. Why is it different this time? Because the US is taking control of Venezuela. And they are set to bring more oil and natural gas supply to the market. More supply, not enough demand, prices drop. The market knows that this weekend's events will ultimately result in the opposite of a supply distribution, and the market is never wrong. Okay. Another thing I wanted to talk about is other companies that could benefit is like ExxonMobil or Chevron, CVX, because those American companies will go into Venezuela to start generating revenue there, probably. They've got plenty of oil. Could be. Also maybe something like Occidental Petroleum. I don't know what else. What other oil companies would benefit from that, but yeah. Anyways, time will tell. We'll get confirmation of that tomorrow, how markets react. I'm sure we'll figure that out. Okay, let's move on to Bitcoin here. We saw it break above 91,000. It's up $2,500 since the low point of the Venezuelan attacks, probably more than that now. $83 billion was added to the crypto market. $130 million in shorts were liquidated in the last 12 hours. This move happened while traditional markets were closed. Crypto was the only liquid market open, and it moved up, which shows this attack somehow is taken as bullish. One big reason could be the US now controls $17 trillion worth of oil reserves, which will massively boost the US economy. That said, it could also be a fake Sunday pump. That's what I'm more concerned about, so be cautious with it. We will get real confirmation if stocks open green and Bitcoin holds above 91,000. I'd be more generous with the 91,000, maybe 90,000 itself. Obviously, your worst case scenario is 88,000 if that fails. Great. Just a reminder, countries with 0% capital gains tax, I'll keep this one bookmarked because it's important to know. United Arab Emirates, Cyprus, Portugal, Panama, Singapore, Malta, Barbados, Bermuda, Cayman Islands, Hong Kong, Mauritius, Vanuatu, Gibraltar, I never heard of that one. Liechtenstein, I'd never heard of that either. Slovenia, Switzerland, Uruguay, El Salvador, and Puerto Rico all have 0% capital gains tax. How are the women in that country? Might move. Not actually, by the way. This is interesting. I don't know if this is real or not. I don't know if I really want to read all this. Apparently there's $60 billion in Bitcoins, in Venezuela's Bitcoins seized assets, reserves. I don't know what you want to call it. Everybody's focusing on the $17 trillion in oil, which, yeah, that's a lot of money, sure. But what they don't know is that Venezuela is one of the largest active Bitcoin holders in the world. Is that actually real? We should have known about this then, because we've always talked about who is the top holders. It's Satoshi, it's MicroStrategy, BlackRock, Grayscale, and then it's the countries. United States was 300,000. You got China with 200,000. And then you got another couple of countries with like 60,000, 40,000, like the UK or God knows what other countries. But that Venezuela is among the top with 600,000 Bitcoins, the same amount as MicroStrategy, similar to MicroStrategy and BlackRock. How did we not know about this? I think this is fake. I just want to read comments before. Yeah, okay. It can't be real. What do you mean it's... Okay. Is this real or not? Wait, who are we talking about here? This is more comments. Hold on. The source... Intelligence claims suggest that Venezuela may control a massive Bitcoin shadow reserve of up to 600,000 Bitcoin. Seized Venezuelan Bitcoin assets. Because, see, even the United States has half of that, 300,000 Bitcoin. How does Venezuela have 600,000 Bitcoin? I don't believe that to be true. I understand their economy was bad and people were looking for other ways. Maybe they were using crypto, but I'm not going to assume that everybody, of course, used crypto. It's so much to explain. It seems like they only have 240 Bitcoin valued at 20 million. The numbers are not public. Is there actually proof? Okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's pretend that Venezuela has 600,000 Bitcoins. How this will impact markets? Okay. His board was built through gold swaps and the requirement that oil exports be settled in USDT to evade sanctions. Okay, so he's already dabbling into crypto based off of sanctions there. Intelligence cited by whale hunting indicates the accumulation began in 2018, coinciding with the aggressive liquidation of the Orinoco Mining Arc's gold reserves. So you're selling gold for Bitcoin. The regime likely converted $2 billion of gold proceeds into Bitcoin at an average price of $5,000. Surely we could trace this in the blockchain though, right? That's why they're calling it like a shadow reserve. We don't know what their address is. Surely we know. Come on. How do you even speculate that? So if they did this conversion back in 2018 when Bitcoin was dirt cheap and you were trading gold for it, sure. 400,000 Bitcoin doesn't seem too crazy. That's a couple billion. And now, since it's risen to about 90,000, that would be worth $36 billion. Crazy return on investment, by the way. Big if true, like I said, but we don't know. As the Petro experiment failed, the regime pivoted to using Tether as a proxy for the petrodollar during crude oil sales. However, Venezuela began to wash that into Bitcoin, recognizing that USDT retains the ability to be frozen, which is true. Given market intelligence, we can estimate that Venezuela has roughly $45 to $50 billion in gold, $10 to $15 billion in petro crypto, crude oil, and $500 million in mining seizures. Okay, so this is the amount of Bitcoin they have from gold, from oil, and from actually mining Bitcoin. So actually mining doesn't seem like too much. It's only 500 million. The big majority of it was the gold swap, right? They sold their gold for Bitcoin back in 2018 to 2020. Interesting. Giving a grand total of 67 billion. Oh man, no laughing at 6-7 jokes in 2026. $67 billion in Bitcoin, which you have at least 600,000 to 660,000 plus in Bitcoin. That does not mean that the US has full control of the Bitcoin yet. I was going to say that. If they have control of the oil reserves, surely they now have control of this Bitcoin. And there's no need for the rebuying. And the US would be number one in the world already with that. 600,000 Bitcoin plus the 300,000 that they have, you're already at 900,000, pretty close to the 1 million to beat Satoshi himself. And I'm sure you could seize Michael Saylor's assets. No, that's a joke, but anyway. And then, like, obviously they should do something to buy more Bitcoin or start receiving crypto payments from taxes. Maybe. The days following today will be defined by a high-stakes interrogation to secure the Bitcoin. Imagine if that just gets wiped out of the market, like you forget the passkeys, or Maduro only knows the seed phrase and he refuses to give it up. You will not take my 600,000 Bitcoin. Imagine. So now the revelation of the $60 billion hoard fundamentally alters the supply and demand dynamics of the Bitcoin market for 2026. As the Venezuelan reserve is estimated at 600,000 Bitcoin. This is 12 times larger than a German sale. Remember the German government selling 50,000 Bitcoin, what that did to the price? Well, it dropped it from 60,000 to 50,000. Wow, big deal. But it was a scare, and they did it in a long, slow, and painful process. Just dump it all in the market at once. Give us a one-day crash and get it over with. Don't prolong it for like 2-3 months. That was painful. But hey, whatever. BlackRock bought it all up, and here we are today at 90K plus, and we refuse to drop below that. Below 80,000 at least. Big mistake. They lost like an extra $2 billion or something. Your problem, Germany. 2 times larger than the US government's entire pre-raid stockpile. Yeah, big. In 2024, the German state, they sold 50,000 Bitcoins worth $3 billion. It caused a 15 to 20% market correction and weeks of bearish sentiment. Now compare that to 600,000. Okay, I don't think they're going to go ahead and dump it. If the US does take control over that, they're just adding it to their reserves. There's no way they're going to dump this on the markets. But if they do, yeah, it will be hard. How much would this actually impact the price? I could do the math. Unless the math is already done for me here and I'm getting ahead of myself. I think it does do the math for you. Hold on, we'll continue reading, and then if it doesn't say, I'll do the math myself. Which could still be wrong, but I don't know. The leading entity holders of Bitcoin is Satoshi with 1.1 million, BlackRock with 770,000. MicroStrategy 672,000. No, 67 jokes in 2026. So Venezuela would have 600,000 here. US government 325,000. And something like Mt. Gox, another thing that's been causing like a prolonged bearish sentiment because of their sell-offs, they have 140,000, or had. I don't know if they still have it. This was like an old exchange, one of the earliest Bitcoin exchanges that got hacked, and those guys have got to refund those Bitcoins somehow. So yeah. Here's what's likely to happen from here. The frozen asset, the highest probability. These assets are seized, but immediately entangled in complex litigation, creditor file injunctions. The DOJ claims forfeiture. The keys are held in escrow by the US Treasury, but the coins cannot move. There will be short-term volatility due to uncertainty, followed by a bullish supply shock narrative. Yeah, because the 600,000 is just taken out of Bitcoin's entire 21 million circulation, right? We already have 4 million that's lost to people forgetting their address keys or whatever. Their pass keys, their private keys. Short-term volatility due to uncertainty. Yeah, okay, you said that twice. The market realizes that 600,000 Bitcoin, which is 3% of the circulating supply, it's been effectively removed from the market for 5 to 10 years. It acts as a massive lockup, reducing liquid supply and supporting higher prices. Hey, I wouldn't mind that. The strategic reserve pivot, high probability. Influenced by the strategic Bitcoin reserve movement, President Trump orders the Treasury to hold the Bitcoin as a permanent US asset. This too acts as a massive lockup. That's also one of the probabilities that I'm willing to believe if this were to be true. We're just adding it to the Bitcoin strategic reserve, and we know that they will not sell it, at least not for a long time. It would reduce liquid supply, support higher prices. The fire sale, low probability, they're not going to pull a Germany on us, and that would be painful either way. The DOJ would declare the assets perishable or volatile, and they will execute an immediate liquidation via Coinbase Prime or USMS auctions to fund the occupation costs. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But that's pretty funny. The DOJ is like, this is too volatile. We do not like Bitcoin anymore. Okay, pal. So what have we been doing for the past 2 years? Results. Oh yeah, this is unlikely due to Trump's positive stance toward Bitcoin reserves from confiscating assets. Yeah, it's contradictory. I don't think that's going to happen. So markets have been looking at the massive oil reserve and beneficiaries while ignoring the elephant in the room, which is Bitcoin. The second order effect is likely a massive supply lockup. If the US seizes these assets, they will likely move from active liquid reserves of a rogue state to frozen sovereign assets of the US Treasury, reducing available supply for Bitcoin and potentially acting as a catalyst for higher prices in 2026. Imagine that's why Bitcoin hits 200,000. That'd be crazy. There will likely be increased volatility. But for market participants, shorting Bitcoin because of fears of conflict, this event is generally seen as bullish for MicroStrategy and Bitcoin holders, as this effectively locks up supply for many years to come. Cool. They didn't mention how much this would impact the price, so I'll do the math. If I know how to do it. I don't think I know how to do this. Okay, Bitcoin. 93,000. Sure. How this math works is 19,970,000 Bitcoins at the current price of 93,099.75 should give you what the market cap is, which is 1,859,000,000,000. No, what? 1,859,489,237,404. There you go. Similar enough. Now, if we were to... How much is 600,000 Bitcoins at this current price? That's what we have to calculate first. It's $55 billion worth of market cap that would drop on this price. I don't think it's going to be a big impact. So 1859617096229. I don't know what the last numbers were, but it was something like that. This is the new market cap of Bitcoin. And if you divide this, you divide it, right, by the entire supply. Do I have to add 600,000 to this? If we do, we get like 20 million. I don't think we should. Just divide it by the current supply, because the rest has not even been mined yet, right? 19,970, 000. It would drop Bitcoin's price by $3,000. If my math is correct. From 93,000 that it is right now, it would drop it to 90,000. If 600,000 just got dumped on the market right now. That's a big drop. We're talking about like a drop from here to here. A 3% drop on Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is so large that, what was the number again? $60 billion? 50 billion? We did the math there. 50 to 60 billion. It's not a big deal. 93,000 times 600,000. Yeah, $55 billion. It's still a big drop, but it's not a big deal. What would cause a larger drop is the fear that of the rest of the world being like, oh my gosh, a big sell-off event is happening, and it causes a domino effect. Longs get liquidated, everybody sells and panics, and that's what would cause a larger drop. I've done the same kind of math with if Satoshi sold his Bitcoin. Same kind of deal, right? Would get, I don't know, maybe maximum a 5% drop. And people would still freak out because it's, first of all, Satoshi himself, the creator, is selling his own token today of all days. Like, what is going on? That would cause a huge shock to the world. Does he no longer believe in it? Is he just taking his profits? Who is the Satoshi guy? Are we going to track his wallet? Whatever. And a lot of people would lose their faith in the project, likely. Only the real believers with balls will stay in the market, even if Satoshi sells off. If they do truly believe in the project. And let me tell you, if Satoshi does sell off, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people supporting this project anymore. God forbid that day happens, but hey. In the meantime, we'll enjoy our annual 150% average yield. How about that? Venezuela and Bitcoin and Tether stockpile will be added to the US Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Good. This is the explanation post. These figures are unverified by on-chain analysis. They rely on human estimates. I don't know what that is. What is this? Human intelligence. Okay. That's a stupid acronym, but okay. No public wallets have been conclusively linked, and the holdings were likely distributed across cold storage controlled by regime insiders. That's another possibility, is that it's just spread out by a bunch of different addresses, because I was going to say, like, we could obviously point out if there's just this one Bitcoin wallet address that stands out that is holding 600,000 Bitcoins, we're all going to be like, who does that belong to? That's not BlackRock. That's not MicroStrategy. Whose is this? Right? But if they did it smartly, they spread it out. There's like 1 million wallets that have 60 Bitcoin. Don't do the math on that. That's obviously wrong. I'm just going to do this math before I sound like an idiot. I don't know. If there's 1 million wallets, every wallet would have half a Bitcoin. 0.6 Bitcoins almost. Right? That would make more sense. Do they actually have 1 million wallets? Probably not. Whatever. Any kind of math would make sense. But still, they do have about 3% circulating supply, big if true. If they have been accumulating since 2018, I am kind of willing to believe that. But we don't know for sure yet. And even if it's real, we'll just add it to the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve in the United States. This is basically the opposite effect of what we're seeing with oil, right? We take over Venezuela. You have a lot of oil now that gets added to the supply. And you're going to do that on purpose to drop prices, because you do want to drop the price of oil. You want gas below $2, right, Trump? So that's obviously going to happen. You want, obviously, you want China not to have that oil. You want your companies to thrive. You're obviously going to do something to make the economy prosper there, using oil to enrich yourself. Sure. But with Bitcoin's case, why sell the Bitcoin? That's something you're supposed to hold on for a long term. We know Trump is in favor of Bitcoin. We have the strategic reserve that exists since March last year. He's obviously going to add it to the reserves, which means that the supply is not being added to the market, and that is the opposite effect, right? It should make Bitcoin prices rise. We should see oil prices drop. Long term. I like that. And that pertains to just this specific subject, by the way. I'm sure oil will go back up in price eventually. It happens usually when Iran is in problems. Gold and oil tend to go rising. So yeah. Yeah, it's basically more of the same. Great. Wow. I was actually not aware of that, but that's big if true. Crazy, I learn new stuff every day. Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, that's the space shuttle thing. You can now make payments with Ethereum for space travel. Cool. If you want to give your Ethereum to a multi-billionaire, go for it. Grok was asked to remove a crypto that will 10x this year from a big list of projects. They're doing the, hey Grok, remove this. Hey Grok, remove that. Add a bikini to this man. What crypto is going to 10x in 2026? It removed Cardano. I don't know what these are, but it removed Cardano. It thinks Cardano is going to 10x this year. Oh, Grok, what are we going to do with you? Are you serious? What was that? I just saw something else. ADA USD. Why do we have USD? ADA undefined? What is this? Okay, Bing X. Am I on coin margin? Is that why? Get me out of here. What did I just do? I installed a virus on my computer. Go back to... It's gone. Okay, I was panicking. I thought USDT was just gone. All my USDT. Imagine. Cardano's at 40. This means we're expecting Cardano to reach $4. My brother in Christ. Oh, blowing chunks. Hey, long time, man. Your Cardano is down 60%. Oh my gosh. That's rough, man. Yep, we had a huge hit on Cardano, but I'll give you some good news. It's got an uptrend. We'll see some up movement for a while. I don't know how much we can see from it, but this is rough still. After hitting a recent high of $1, right? That was the highest we hit in 2025. Would you even call this a rise? That was 2024. It didn't really count. And this was the strategic reserve rise when we rose like 70% in 1 week. That was pretty funny. It was funny. Cardano acting like a meme coin over here. But we still got this downtrend going on for it. Weekly super trend is very negative. But we were pretty oversold. Spot accumulation could be good on Cardano. But I don't know. I don't think I'd be willing to bet on that. If it does 10x, that means like... Let me show you something. If you're expecting Cardano to 10x, then we're also expecting Zcash maybe to do the same. 10x on Cardano. That would be 140 billion in market cap. So you'd expect Cardano to be guaranteed in the top 5. So I don't know how feasible that is. Who knows? Whatever, Grok. You do your thing. Last thing I just want to talk about, Dan Bongino, who was the FBI deputy FBI director, so like the vice president of the FBI, if you want to call it that. That raid that we did on Venezuela was apparently his last day on the job. What a way to go out, isn't it? I was suspicious of the guy because he announced his resignation, which we talked about, during the release of the Epstein files. And we were like, why is he doing this now, of all times? Is he ashamed about what the FBI and the DOJ, how they've been handling the Epstein files? Is that why he's resigning? It didn't look good. But, I don't know, a bit of a commemorative post to him who will be, he's leaving now the FBI. So he just basically reposted Trump's post on Truth Social and said it was a busy last day on the job. This will be my last post on this account. Good thing I don't follow it. Tomorrow, I return to civilian life. This was yesterday, by the way, so today he is officially a civilian. It's been an incredible year thanks to the leadership and decisiveness of President Trump. It was an honor of a lifetime to work with Director Patel and to serve you, the American people. See you on the other side. See you in Valhalla, brother. Remember when Kash Patel said that to Charlie Kirk? That's crazy. That was crazy. He did comment on it though, Kash Patel, on Dan Bongino's last post, saying, Dad Dan, oh man, I said dad. Dan heads back to the private sector after helping orchestrate a record year for the FBI. Here's the accomplishments if you care about what happened. FBI Wrapped of 2025, if you want to call it that. Historic 20% drop in nationwide murder rate. 100% increase in arrests year to year. Because of ICE, maybe. No, I'm sure there's other reasons. 1,800 gangs and criminal enterprises disrupted. An increase of 210%. We got 2,000 plus kilos of fentanyl seized. Up 31%, which was enough to kill 130 million Americans. Isn't it the whole population of America? No, it's not. It's 400 million. Nation of America. 300 million. We would have wiped out a third of Americans. Is that real? I mean, if they all consumed it, of course. I'm sure it's going to be like that one guy consuming multiple and then eventually dying of an overdose. Sure. I'm pretty sure fentanyl is not a one-shot, one-kill type drug, is it? Surely you gotta overdose on it and be irresponsible. Not saying to take fentanyl or anything, but whatever. You do whatever you want. I would never. Nihilistic violent extremism arrests are up 490%. Over 6,000 child victims located, which is up 22%. Espionage arrests up 35%. It's a lot of espionage arrests. Multiple successful surges, including summer heat, which had almost 9,000 arrests in just 3 months. In conclusion, the FBI is saving lives, protecting innocent kids, taking deadly drugs off our streets at levels not seen in decades. None of it would have been possible without Dan's leadership and support. He paved the way for even better things to come. Thank you, Dan Bongino. Awesome. And this post I put off from yesterday, I'm going to talk about it now. Sanae Takaichi, our favorite president, she had a phone call with Trump 2 days ago. This marks the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States, Japan's most important ally. Yeah, after we nuked you twice. I'm just kidding. Forget that. I offered my congratulations on the 250th anniversary. We confirmed the close cooperation between Japan and the United States under the current international situation. At President Trump's invitation, we also concurred to coordinate in detail to realize my visit to the United States in this spring, so she'll be coming to visit us soon. The call was extremely meaningful as we reaffirmed the close coordination of the Japan-US alliance. I look forward to working with President Trump in 2026. It's going to be a great chapter in the history of the Japan-US alliance. Thank you. Awesome. Did I point this out to you guys yet if I changed the super trend to 5-5? It would mean we're still on an uptrend on the weekly chart. How crazy is that? Extended bull cycle? Hey, maybe. Or maybe this is just false hope and we're going to go lower in the weekly chart. I don't think we will. But this is the one I follow either way. 10-3 super trend on the weekly chart. It's indicating bearish, but hey, cross 116k, I'll be bullish again. I'm still bullish even right now, so... Especially with like micro chart terms. I say micro. This is a 4-hour chart. Yeah, in these terms, I feel very bullish with the rise that we're seeing, the uptrend that we have, the fact that there is no downtrend. I haven't tried on the weekly chart. I'm sure you cannot draw a downtrend. You can't. How would you? That's broken, that's broken, that's broken, that's broken. You can only do something like this, but I mean, you're expecting Bitcoin to rise to 100k plus by then. If you're following the super trend like this. There's no downtrend on Bitcoin. This is basically what I'm trying to say. Good. We're about to break 93,000 again to end the stream very strong. Okay. That should be it. Tomorrow's stream should be good. Why am I saying it like that? Yeah, the stream schedule should be normal until advised otherwise. Tuesday I will not be here. Going back to my regular routine of stuff I normally do on Tuesday evenings. so I won't be able to stream then. But the rest of the week should be normal streaming time schedule, if and only if there is no conflicts in my work schedule. I've been told different hours of my schedule, my work shift. I'm going to pull up the email right now to show you guys what I'm talking about. Obviously not going to show it on this screen, so just bear with me. It wasn't even on this email, dude. I have like so many emails. Don't ask me why, government. Here. Documents. Nope, that's not it. Where is my letter of acceptance? Am I blind? Yeah, here it is. I'm trying to find the schedule. Here it is. Is it this? Okay, hold on. I downloaded it. I'm pretty sure I downloaded it. No, I can't find it, dude. Nope, never mind. But it was something like, oh, you need to, it was from 8:30 to 4 o'clock or something like that. And then the other schedule they told me was like 2 p.m. to 11. And then now it's 9 to 4. Like, the hours don't make sense. Whatever, man. I'll figure something out. I'll let you guys know what the updates on the schedule is later, but yeah. That's fine. I'll be fine. I want to think as well, are we getting any economic data? Kashkari apparently talked today. No one cares about that. ISM manufacturing data. It's not going to be that important in my opinion. It's not going to be market moving. Nothing Wednesday. Jolts. Sure, maybe. I don't think it's going to be too volatile next week. Friday we're getting non-farm payrolls. Yes. So Friday will be the most important day next week when it comes to economic data and volatility. And Kashkari is yapping again. What do you have to say about the markets, man? Just leave us alone. Okay, that is it for tonight's stream, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I think I might have spent too much time talking about the Venezuela seized Bitcoin assets. That was just really, like, impactful to see. I'm gonna see if anybody else talks about it here. Venezuela Bitcoin. What do we got? Yep, there's that. Oh, Maria Corina Machado proposes using Bitcoin as a national reserve asset? Well, she's hired. Venezuela is the fourth largest Bitcoin holder in the world. Big if true. Guys, did you see like pictures of Maduro? Random images just getting released. He changes his outfit like 10 times per day. We've seen him in different outfits in every single image. It's so funny. Yep. The 60 billion shadow reserve. Okay. Yeah, I think that part of this might be a reason why Bitcoin is also on the rise. The fact that Venezuela does have 600,000 Bitcoin, and the fact that the United States will obviously seize it and add it to their reserve asset, meaning that it's no longer going to be in circulation. At least not for a long time. That should add to the supply shock factor of Bitcoin. Maybe we rose that amount of market cap because of that news. I don't know. So yeah, okay, I'll end the stream now, guys. That's it for tonight. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow.